before I got pregnant with my son after my miscarriage and said that I'm experiencing rage, like I'm angry at anyone and anything, everything sets me off. And they were like, nah, you're just grieving.
And hence you started saying, like, I need to get answers, not just for myself, but to change, bring the change.
What I found with women, there's so much misinformation out there, and there's so much gaslighting as well. Like, it's okay to have sore periods. Oh, you saw that's normal. That's part of being woman.
You just said something very interesting. You said, first of all, my body was going through all these chemical changes. Then my mind is obsessing over those chemical changes. And I'm like, now I'm going actually becoming a bit of crazy person, obsessing over what's going on with my body as well.
Saying, oh, your husband should put up with this and your husband should put up with that. Well, no one has to put up with anything, because if you just feeling horrible and you're making everyone else's lives horrible around you because you're not taking ownership or you're not making changes in your life, then it's not their responsibility to tiptoe around you. But what I found with women, there's so much misinformation out there, but at the same time we have to take ownership. And if we are raging, well, there is herbs and supplements you can take to feel better.
What inspired you?
Family from South Africa moved to New Zealand. Both of them are doctors with two or three kids, I can't remember. And so mother, I think she went into psychosis or something like that, and she killed her kids.
Welcome to Her Own Narrative, where we bring raw stories to light and remind every woman everywhere that your truth, it deserves to be told your own way. Today's guest is someone who's taken one of society's most taboo topics, perimenopause, and turned it into a global conversation. Anastasia is a perimenopause coach with over 70,000 following of women on her platform on Instagram. Before the coaching and the content, there was a story. There was a story of weight gain, hormonal chaos, and silence. Now, this episode is about what happens when you stop suffering and you speak up and stand tall and own your story. Now, before we talk about the platform, the content, coaching, and everything, Anastasia, tell us, how did it all begin?
Well, I've been in coaching and fitness industry for the last 15, 16 years. Prior to online coaching that I'm doing now, my background comes from competitive sports as well, from very unhealthy diets and crash diets and cutting weight for competition and stuff like that. And so then after that, when I stopped competing, I went into opening the gym with my husband. And so we done a little bit of coaching and nutrition coaching, got into it, and fitness and all of that. And then slowly, as I was kind of going through educating and coaching people, I realized that I actually enjoy working with women. Like I work with men as well right now. Most men come to me as referrals. But what I found with women, there's so much misinformation out there, and there's so much gaslighting as well. Like, oh, it's okay to have sore periods. Oh, you saw that's normal. That's part of being woman. Oh, you feeling a bit off. Oh, you just anxious. You need some antidepressants. That's it. And so that's when I realized that I actually enjoy working with women. But then I had my own journey. I've gained 30 kilos after my first child, and then had to lose that. So that kind of was interesting process for myself, understanding that crash diets don't work anymore. That I really need to focus on learning properly how to do nutrition and coaching. And I was over 30, so I was considered older mom. And so I've lost all that weight. That was fine. And at that point, I realized that what I needed wasn't there, like the support and things like that. So then I went on, and I had a couple of miscarriages as well. So I always had issues with fertility and woman stuff. And I was trying to learn more and more and more and more, because doctors couldn't give me the answers. No one knew why I kept having miscarriages. Like I had no problem getting pregnant, but I couldn't hold on to pregnancies. And so that was really interesting because when I got pregnant with my son, I was 36. Again, I was
Older
old
mom.
mom, and
Yep.
I was given lots of like, in your age.
Yes. Oh, I had my third.
We went to fertility clinic in New Zealand to help us to figure out what the hell is going on. And so the first thing they did, they give me progesterone to hold pregnancy. And I was like, oh, that's really interesting. So that's when I start really digging in and figured out what actually going on. Um, to cut short, long story short, I had low progesterone and had estrogen dominance, but no one kind of knew, well, that was the reason. Like fertility clinic kind of guessed and go, oh, okay, we're going to give you a progesterone to hold your pregnancy in, and then placenta should take over and you should be fine. And it's worked. It's worked. I went through the whole pregnancy and that was fine. But then after the pregnancy, I had Dutch tests done, and it's like the urine test that tests your hormones in the morning, afternoon, night, whatever, like different times of the day. And it has showed that I had low progesterone, I had estrogen dominance, and all the other things. So that's where I was like, okay, this is what I really need to focus on. This is what I need to learn. And at that point, when I had Dutch test, I was 37. I It showed that I was in early perimenopause.
Oh,
And interesting
okay.
enough, I remember going to doctors about 35 before I got pregnant with my son after my miscarriage, and said that I'm experiencing rage, like I'm angry at anyone and
Mm,
anything, everything sets me off. And they were like, nah, you're just grieving. And I'm like, I'm not grieving because I understand this is not my first miscarriage and I
mm,
understand why it's happening. Like, yes, I'm pissed off, but I'm not grieving.
mm.
And looking back, my symptoms started then of perimenopause. But
Wow.
even when I took my Dutch results to GP and I said, here's my results, GP said, I don't know how to read this test. I was like, I know how to read this test. I'm telling you what it is. You should know how to read this test. It's like, it clearly says that
Yeah.
what it is what it is. I'm an early perimenopause. And that's where I thought, okay, cool, that's fine. If GPs are not willing, and we're talking like 4 or 5 years ago, not
Hmm.
willing to start looking into it a little bit deeper, then I need to look into it myself. I need to get upskilled. I need to get different qualifications on top of what I already have, and really start putting information out there so other women don't get gaslighted like I did. And they start focusing on nutrition, on exercise, on mindset, on changing lifestyle. Because what worked when you were 30 or 20, they just said
Doesn't
20,
work
doesn't
now.
work
Yeah.
in your
Yeah.
mid 30s to
S-
late 30s.
So your
So,
fitness and your nutrition background
yeah.
made you more curious about what is not getting answered by the medics there. And
Yes.
hence you
Yeah.
started saying like I need to get answers, not just for myself, but to change, bring the change.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and that's the thing, because I was training women,
Hmm.
and if I didn't understand why they can't lose weight or struggling to lose weight, then how can I help them? You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Like, it's all great to be a nutrition coach or fitness coach when you're 20 and you try coaching
Yeah,
20-year-olds. Like, it's
exactly.
simple.
Yeah.
But when you're training 40-year-old woman that experiencing anxiety, weight gain, can't sleep, um, starting to lose muscle mass, or starting to feel flabby and soft in her body, like, you need to know why,
Why is
and you
what
want
is
to be
causing
able to
that?
give them answers and reassurance that literally this is what happening, and this is how nutrition and exercise can help you, because it's huge. Like, nutrition is the key to, and exercise, to managing symptoms.
Yeah.
Of course, there's HIT, right? Like, it
Mm.
does help. It does help because nothing can replace your hormones apart from hormone
HRT.
replacement
Yeah.
therapy.
Yeah.
But it's one of the tools. So if you're not taking care of your nutrition and exercise, then doesn't matter if you're taking HRT or not. You might feel a little bit better, but you're not going to fix all the symptoms that
So
you're experiencing.
go back to you. Let's go back to when you were all agitated, because I love that what you just said is gaslighting. Yeah, yeah. My mom did that. So do you? What's wrong with you? This is natural. Yeah, but this is natural part of my aging. Doesn't mean I'm not validated of how I'm feeling. Yeah, it is. Yes, I'm aging. Like I feel I am not peri yet, but not far off either. So I don't think I've got symptoms, but yes, gaslighting happens a lot. So you think, yeah, fine, you might call me peri, you might call a friend of mine being menopausal or somebody else, but that's a natural state of a body. Now, we as women, this was not talked about till about, I think, last 5 years. Suddenly, women have started talking about it. Yeah, because it's not really a subject which needs to be just brushed under the carpet. It's like, I don't know, it's like postnatal depression. People never used to talk about it, but it used to be a real thing. It is a real thing. So this is a real thing. It's how we manage it. And women like yourselves who are actually going through it, but now not just stopping at yourselves. I'm thinking, if I am struggling, a friend of mine is struggling as well. How do I change that? And what you've just said is actually exercise and nutrition, bringing it all together, cannot replace your hormones, but it can actually help you manage it.
Yeah,
That's crazy, isn't it? And
definitely.
why is this not preached and coached even more?
I don't know. Things are changing quite a bit. I remember I grew up in Russia. So I moved
Hmm.
to New Zealand 22 years ago. And growing up in Russia back then, there was no like mental health. There's
Hmm.
no neurodiversity. There was
Hmm.
no probably menopause either.
No, no, no. There was nothing. A woman's issue was never an issue. You just get on with it.
No.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You
Yep.
just hide or you fight. You
Yeah.
don't
Yeah.
speak. Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know if maybe things have changed now. I don't know. I haven't been back for 22 years. So I don't know. Um, but it's interesting because I was also diagnosed with ADHD at age of 37. So that's when it was picked up because my starting to experience hormonal changes and it's impacted my brain with all the hormones that changing.
Mm-hmm.
And this is quite common. The women get diagnosed in their late 30s because of changing hormones, because it changes how you can deal with stress or anxiety or anything like that. And if I look back, um, in Russia, going for school, you just mimic other kids or you mask it. So no one would ever pick it up. Like they knew something wasn't right and they tried to do lots of different tests, but they keep saying, oh, it's a low blood pressure or it's intracranial pressure or it's that pressure. And they try to give me magnesium and B6 and 12, I think, all
B12,
different
yeah.
things. But looking back now, I'm like, that was full on ADHD. Like, no one picked it up because there was non existent.
Mm. Yeah. There was no diagnosis for it. There was no term like ADHD then, was it? So how has it impacted you going back to, when you said you had your baby and you were gaining weight and you were actually you were diagnosed of that perimenopausal, then you've got ADHD diagnosis as well. Now, put someone else in this situation, they're like, oh my gosh, this is the end of the world now. What do I do? Here you go, Anastasia. You took it all on yourself. And I'm like, no, it doesn't only just stop at myself. I am going to go and advocate. And from there, you kind of have got a very vocal community on Instagram. Was that intentional or was it just organic because of your vulnerability and the way you became honest about it?
That was organic. I didn't have any strategy to grow it. I had about maybe 2,000, 3,000 followers
Hmm.
until I started really focus on perimenopause and menopause and speak about experience, sharing other client stories. providing feedback and things like that, and then it's just blew up in the
Blown
last year.
from there. That's amazing. And that's what
Yeah,
does it not resonate that the minute you start being honest about yourself, to start talking about your own journey and being raw and vulnerable, people people resonate, people relate to it. So, I'm sure when you talk about your story, there's a lot of women who'd say, "Oh, I'm experiencing exactly the same.
yes.
Could you help?" So, what is that one question that women actually come back, like the most common asked question in your DM or your emails?
They normally come and say, I do everything right. I eat clean, I exercise a lot, and I'm still piling weight on. This is the most common thing. Um, Interesting enough, I've been having messages from men, from husbands, go, how can I help my wife? I'm like,
Wow.
wow, that's just so
There's definitely a
amazing.
shift here then.
It's huge. And I'm like, well, this I've got online course, start here. Buy
Yeah.
the online course, go through it yourself and have understanding what actually happening if they're hormones and why, you know, they're happy 1 minute and then they're crazy another
Like a
minute.
minute, yeah. I think there should be a
Yeah.
course for the kids as well to cope with
Yeah.
your perimenopausal mom.
I mean, like as a woman, we do need to take ownership of that too. Like I don't want.
Mm-hmm.
I see a lot saying, "Oh, your husband should put up with this, and your husband should put up with that." Well, no one has to put up with anything.
Mm-hmm.
Um, like, yes, we know we're going through those changes, and yes, we need to talk to our partners about what's going on. But at the same time, we have to take ownership. And if we are raging, well, there is herbs and supplements you can take to feel better. If you can't sleep, there's herbs and supplements. If
Mm.
you're feeling depressed, well, there's a nutrition. Like you need more protein. There's so much things you can do for nutrition exercise. Because if you just feeling horrible and you're making everyone else's lives horrible around you because you're not taking ownership or you're not making changes in your life, then it's not their responsibility to tiptoe around you. Like,
That's very interesting. That's really interesting. The point is here is, yeah, fine, you're going through a change. We all are going through a change, but take the ownership and do something. And, it's just about managing it. It's not about just
yeah.
throwing your tantrums and say, yeah, I'm going through the change, so I can't help it. No, no, no. Let's manage it. And yes, people around us have got to have that little sympathetic or empathetic way of dealing with it as well, but doesn't mean that you are entitled.
Yeah.
That's
Mm.
amazing. That's really, really nice way of thinking as well as a woman, because usually women will just stand there and say, no, 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 I'm going through this, so just put up with it. So
No one
that's
has to put up with
interesting.
anything.
Nothing, nothing at all. So going back to, when you started raging and, that weight gain and it's like not shifting, what was happening to you at that point? Like, yes, I understand you were going through that, like, "Oh, I'm going to change everything," and how women feel and stuff like that. But did you like feel at some point that that's it, I've lost myself, I don't know who I am anymore, and what do I do now, and stuff like that?
I actually thought I was losing my mind. Like I thought I was going crazy. I even spoke to psychologists. I was referred to psychiatrists. That's when I was diagnosed with ADHD. Um, they tried to give me antidepressants, like anti-anxiety meds, and I tried, and I was like, nah, making me feel worse. I actually don't want to take it. But yeah, it felt like I was going crazy. I even thought maybe I'm bipolar, maybe there's something else. And I was looking in all sorts of different things, asking Google Doctor,
Mm-hmm.
what else
So
could be
do
wrong with
so
me?
do we all, don't we? Yeah.
Yeah, but honestly, I thought that I'm losing my mind. Like I
That's
thought I'm going crazy. Yeah,
That's absolutely crazy, isn't it? How our natural part of our lives, which are like, changing our body and hormones and everything, but it gets you to that point where you actually kind of think you're losing your marbles. It's like, how that is not a That is not something which people just experience normally. It's a massive, massive thing. And you
Mm.
know, that moment when you decided that that's it, I'm not going to just keep quiet about this. I'm going to talk about this, and I'm going to talk about this boldly. Do you remember that moment?
Yeah, yeah. Well, the first step I did, I actually found a psychologist
Hmm.
and I worked with them for, I can't remember, at least a year,
Oh,
like
wow. Okay.
weekly meetings. We did the MDR, reprogramming, the brain, focusing on why I'm experiencing, like, yes, there is a certain reason why you're experiencing anxiety
Hmm.
and panic attacks and the rage. Like
Hmm.
the something chemically is happening, but then there's also psychologically obsessing over it, and that can be changed, right? Or the
Hmm.
triggers could be changed, and that's what we were working through. That helped. I also made sure that I um, start taking care of. Sorry, my battery is telling me that it's
Just
going to
plug it
run
if you
out.
need
Let
to.
me just check on that. Give me a second.
Mm-hmm.
I well, still got a little bit in it. Okay. Yeah, so I made sure that I started to exercise daily, that I cut the sugar out, I stopped, like, I didn't drink or anything like that. So really focusing on exercise, nutrition, and mindset, and just really taking care of my health, and trying to manage my health. And, like all of those things, being mom as well, have small kids, you get overstimulated real quick. So
Oh, yes.
experiencing rage was triggered every single day with the things that happen in the house. So, yeah.
But you know what? You just said something very interesting. You said, first of all, my body was going through all these chemical changes. Then my mind is obsessing over those chemical changes. And I'm like, now I'm going actually as becoming a bit of crazy person, obsessing over what's
Yep.
going on with my body as well. But at that point, what inspired you to start working on yourself? Because it's very, I mean, especially having young kids and everything, it's easier to say, you know what, I can't deal with this. I can't do this
That
anymore.
I think the turning point was, can't remember when it was. It was quite a bad situation happened in New Zealand. I think it was family from South Africa moved to New Zealand. Both of them are doctors with two or three kids. I can't remember.
Hmm.
And so mother, I think she went into psychosis or something like that, and she killed her kids. And I was at that point, I was like, oh my God, I'm scared. I'm scared because she's
Mm.
the doctor. She's not a normal person. Like, there's no,
Mm.
they just moved to New Zealand. It was just after COVID. So they went in, they had to do the lockdown thing before going into community. And that freaked me out so much. And I already was in that high anxiety state. Then I start overthinking over it. And that's kind of was my turning point. I was like, I have to do something about myself to make sure I don't turn like that. And that's really freaked me out. And that's when I reached out to psychologists, psychiatrists, all of that. I was like, I don't have those thoughts. Like, I don't want, but she surely didn't have those thoughts either.
Yeah,
Something just,
nobody just, yeah, something just turned it. Yeah, something triggered
yeah,
that.
yeah. And I was like, well, no one is safe then. No one, like, she was fine. And next moment, she wasn't. And so that freaked me out, like, so much that I was like, I'm scared to be on my own with my kids. I had nannies if husband wasn't at home. I was just like, I'm going mental. I'm going crazy. I'm obsessing over things. But I think it was part of being neurodivergent as well, having a little bit of
Yeah.
ADHD with OCD tendencies. So,
But
yeah,
what is
that was my turning
important is
point.
what is most interesting and what is most commendable about you is you took the accountability and you've turned it around. And that's what I love and I actually admire women who take the adversity and turn it around. And not just for themselves, you're on a mission now. You're like, okay, I've done it. I've turned my life around. I am not turning into psychotic. I have those thoughts, but I'm going to turn it around and I'm not going to, I'll take charge of my behavior and my mental health and everything. But I don't stop here. I'm going to go out there and empower others as well. That is the most admirable thing about women I talk to. So, obviously, this has had a ripple effect because, as you said, there were 2,000 followers because of your nutrition and all the work you were doing anyway. And then you started talking about your perimenopausal journey and your mental health and all that. It started a ripple effect. Did you at some point think, whoa, 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 I am not ready for this? It's like this is just growing into snowballing into something I did not expect. Or because I'm assuming, as you said, there was no strategy, it just grew.
Yeah, there was at some point where I had so many women wanted to on board with my coaching that yeah, money was great, but I was like, holy shit, I can't. It's too much. Like it's
Hmm.
too many people at the same time. Because when I work with my woman, I want to know their names. I want to know what's happening with the families. I don't just want to like, here's your plan, off you go. Like
Hmm.
I like to incorporate myself into like being in their life because this is such a private coaching. It's like I want to know everything about what's going on and what's impacting your health and your well-being and how I can help you to navigate that. So at that point, yeah, I freaked out a little bit. I was like, I can't, that's too many people onboarding. And that's why I kind of tried to limit, okay, I'm gonna take on 5 women per month maximum, because depending on the length of their program, some women stay in program 16 weeks, other ones in 12 months. But let's say then 16 weeks. Then by the end of fourth month, I have 20 women to look after. And that's, it's a lot
It's a
of
handful,
people,
yeah.
especially when we have such a close relationship. Um, yeah.
Because
Yeah.
not just physical transformation, it's emotional, it's mental,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
psychological,
Yep.
it's everything you're dealing with, isn't it? So
Yeah.
it's, and especially the phases, perimenopause and menopause doesn't come at an early age, as you said. At this stage your kids are kind of at a certain age, your relationships in your
Mm-hmm.
life are at a certain age, you have kind of lost and found or in the process of losing and finding. So it's a very, very, very tricky
Mm.
age to be in and to be dealing with as well. So it can
Yeah.
definitely be very overwhelming. Um,
Yeah.
so talk to me a little bit about your program. So how do you kind of how do you tailor it?
Yeah. So it's interesting because when women, then when people message me and they go, "Oh, tell me about your program. Tell me what's involved." And I go, "I don't know what's involved because I haven't
Mm,
spoken to you yet. I need to speak to you first to figure out what your problem is, what your goals, what your struggles, and then we're going to create the program." I don't have cookie cutter plans. I don't do that. What I do is once I have a conversation with you, I go, okay, this is what we need to do. This is potential issue. I sometimes send you to your GP, go get the blood test done, get the test done. Let's have a look if there's anything that stands out that we need to focus on, if you're lacking any vitamins or minerals or whatever, because we can help to navigate that for nutrition and exercise. And so once we have all this information, then I create a plan. And this plan is not set in stone. So if
no.
we follow in this plan for a week or two and it's not working, I'm going to change it. But normally it does, it should work. Like it should work. But I
Hmm.
still would change. There's never in nothing set in stone. So we kind of, it's very flexible as we work through together, because first we catch up initially for to talk about where you're at, what needs to happen. I show you how to use the apps, what we track, what not. And so we track weight daily, we track your sleep, we track your exercise, water intake, your calories intake, your protein intake daily, because I'm looking for patterns to see how different things in your life affect your weight. Because your weight is not the measure of your beauty, your weight is a reflection of your metabolic health. That's it.
Yes.
So it's not about how you look. It's about what's happening to your
With your
body. Your
body.
weight will
Hmm.
show that, because realistically you can't gain weight overnight.
No.
a kilo, right? You have to eat nearly 10,000 calories in a day to gain that much weight, right? So if you gain a kilo overnight, hey, did you go bathroom? Maybe that. If you
Mm.
did and everything was normal, then it's water retention. Did you have too much salt? No. Okay. Well,
Mm.
why there's water retention? Chances are there's some sort of inflammation happening in your body. Well, why are you having inflammation? So I'll look at all those things and go, okay, let's try this, let's try that, let's see what we need to change. So it's pretty much we have initial appointment, I'll set the plan, then I check in daily with my clients through the app, and then we jump on Zoom as well once a week for 10 to 15 minutes to work through any struggles or triggers or taking ownership of decisions that they've made that week, and things like that. So it's like, as you can see, it's very personalized.
It's
There's
very
no cookie
personal and
cutter.
very intense. Yeah.
Yeah, it is. And that's why, like having 20 clients at the time is a lot. Like it's actually a lot. And my kids are still little. Well, they're both at
Mm.
school, but one just started school. So it means I still do school drop offs. I still try to pick them up. So I work in the school hours, but then I work after kids go to bed as well.
Yeah.
I'm trying to do the work life balance, but as you know, that's kind of like
There's no
it's nearly
balance.
10 o'clock at
There's
night for
either
you. So
yeah. So there's no work-life balance. We just love working. But if you enjoy doing what you do, I just feel it's very fulfilling. But going back to, you said your journey started very early on because it's not usual to start perimenopause in your 30s. Usually you start in your 40s, mid 40s. What is your advice for a woman who is actually doesn't think she's perimenopausal, but she doesn't even know what symptoms are? Yeah. What would you actually say? You know what? You're in your 30s, you're in your 40s. How do you know you're perimenopausal?
I mean, like, do you need to know if it doesn't affect you?
Probably not. But I think it's just
Oh,
become that word now that you kind of think, oh, I'm
yeah.
a peri. I'm a peri. I'm a peri peri is the new one. I'm not peri, but I'm peri peri.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, like, it can start anywhere from mid 30s now. That's it.
Hmm.
It's just if you're over 35, chances are you're perimenopausal. That's it.
Hmm. But
Because,
what does that mean? What does that mean?
okay, that's when hormones started to shift. So the
Hmm.
first hormone that will have the bigger shift, it's progesterone.
Hmm.
So that's when that one will start to drop. And it can go up and down. But if it goes down, it can bring your estrogen out of balance. So that's when the symptoms like um, anxiety comes in, panic attacks, rage. That's kind of the first symptoms. Then bloating, puffiness, weight around stomach, weight around hips. That's when you start noticing changes. Um, that's kind of the first symptoms. Also, period. It can get heavier, you can get clots, and you can get period throughout the month. So you might have week on, week off, or you might have 1 week and then 2, 3 days somewhere in the middle, and then it comes back again. So it's not about actually reducing period. It gets heavier first before you might miss a month,
Hmm.
somewhere randomly at 40 or something like that. So that's kind of the first start of it. And women don't think it's anything to do with perimenopause because there was never enough education about it.
That's right.
But that's when your hormones started to change.
Yeah.
And at the same time, estrogen starting to do the dance, go up and down, up and down, up and down. And that's why we go all like, "Ah," and then all the mood swings
Yeah.
come in as well. So yeah, those kind of the first changes that start to happen.
So, somebody who's feeling very broken and they don't know if it's peri or, the body's changing and stuff like that, but still feel invisible and broken. And they're like, oh gosh, I don't know, end of the world kind of a thing. What would be one advice to that kind of a woman from you?
Well, first of all, you're not broken. It's just your hormones shifting.
I like
Well,
that.
the first thing, yes, you can go to GP and you can ask for
Right?
different
And if
tests
everything is
just to rule out
normal,
anything else. Then chances are it's perimenopause. But my first, like initial thing would be really look into nutrition. really look into exercise and start changing your lifestyle. So the way I work, I look at your symptoms and go, okay, well, what are you experiencing? And then we start looking, what can you do through exercise? What can you do for nutrition? What can you do by supplementing maybe with some herbs or vitamins? Like, you can do this on your own by kind of taking care of the symptoms. Of course, as you get older, when estrogen goes down, the bone density will go down, and that's quite important to take care of too. um, Bone density, you either have to take hormone replacement therapy, or you need to focus on resistance training. So reformer Pilates, weight training, things like that. Not hit, not run, not endless cardio. No, it needs to be weight training, and that will help. So weight training, if you're 35 and you're not going to the gym or not doing any resistance training or weight training, it's time to start. This is your insurance for the future. So this
So
is
it's
your
going to build your
investment in
muscle
your longevity.
mass.
Yeah, yeah.
So basically, what you're saying is women in your 30s start exercising and not go
Yeah.
mad running,
No. Mm-mm.
but build your muscle mass.
Yes.
And that's very interesting because you know what, I've got a lot of mums, well, not a lot of mums, but there are a couple of mums on the school run who are in their 40s and 50s, late 40s and 50s, and they are really, really looking after themselves. They're into weight training and reformer Pilates
Perfect.
and everything, and they're managing their real menopausal journey super well. So it is getting a lot more education. There is hell lot more to do, but we
Mm-hmm.
are talking and we are bringing the change. Now, let me ask you something. If you were to write perimenopause narrative and say, you know what, this is how I want perimenopause to be talked about, what would that be?
Interesting. I think it's it's a definitely journey, and you can decide how that journey is going to look like. Is it going to be real bumpy, or is it going to be pleasurable and discovery, right? Because the one thing that I've learned as I get older is I get more clarity on who I am and what I want and what I'm going to tolerate and what not. So if you're not taking care of your health during this transition, you're going to suffer, and it's going to be a real bumpy road. But if you're focusing on your nutrition, your exercise, your mindset, your lifestyle, then it can be like a discovery journey.
That's crazy, isn't it? None of our parents, when our moms weren't spoken to about perimenopause or menopausal journey,
No.
but they did have. Do you talk about this to your? We never spoke about this. Do you speak to you about your mom about this to your mom or
No, not really. No.
no?
I don't think my mom knew what she was going through
No,
when
but
she was
do you think
going
she'll
through that.
understand you now? If you spoke about that, this is what I feel like, mom. This is my perimenopause. Do you think she's gonna
Oh, I
turn around
don't.
and say, "Oh, we did it"?
No, we don't talk about it. No, not really. We don't talk about it. She sees me posting on social media, of course, and she likes my posts, but I don't know if she understands what I'm talking about, or was she just liking them, biggest
Yes.
fan, mom. Um, no, we don't really talk about it. But interesting, when I said I was diagnosed with ADHD, her first reaction was like, no, can't be.
No, you can't be. My daughter is got.
And I'm
Why
looking
is
at
got
her and I'm
widened?
like, I'm looking at her thinking, I can see that in you. That's yours. I've got it from you. Now I can see that. Because ADHD comes from
Yeah,
one of
yeah,
your
yeah,
parents.
yeah,
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 and I'm
yeah,
looking at
yeah.
my both parents and go, yep, Yeah.
And now you're denying that
I
I
know
can't
where
have
this come from.
it. Bless.
And I'm
That's
not,
so
I'm not,
funny.
I'm not even going to argue this, you know, like you've
No.
lived in Russia for so many years. Like, of course, there's no mental health. Of course, there's no mental disorders or anything
So
like
this
that.
is what it
I'm
is. I
just going
think
to
that
leave it.
yeah, that generation is a taboo, isn't it? It's not that, oh, I'm
Yeah.
diagnosed now, so I can manage it well. It's not a taboo. It's actually something I want to manage.
Yeah.
It's good to
Yeah.
know that what I have so that I can actually, work towards it and navigate my life around it than actually not knowing what am I dealing with.
But interesting. I remember when I was experiencing anxiety and panic attacks, and I was talking to my friend who still lives in Russia. And he said, "What are you worried about?" And I'm like, "This is the thing. I don't worry about anything. It just comes on, and I don't know what I have to worry about. Like, there's nothing I should be
Mm,
worried about, but it's just crazy thoughts in my head." And she's like, "But what are you worried about?" And I was like, "You don't get it because
you don't get it.
it was never existed back then. Like there was the
Mm.
approach, like, oh, you're feeling sad. What are you sad about?
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Or
yeah,
do you
yeah.
want me to give you something to be sad about?"
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Well,
Totally, totally. I totally get you. But people did not get that. It's exactly like I was talking to a guest a couple of months ago, and she was talking about postnatal depression. She's like, I've just had this beautiful baby, yeah. I've had something which I've always wanted, but I'm in depression. No one understands it. No one gets it. People are like,
mm-hmm.
"Oh, this is what you always wanted. What are you sad about now?" But
Yeah,
it's a state of mind. It's a mental state
yeah,
where you don't know what's going on with you.
no,
It's just, as a woman, how mad is it that what our
mm-hmm.
body goes through, and then we're told, "Get on with it."
Yeah,
It's totally
yeah, that's
crazy,
crazy.
isn't it? It's absolutely
Yeah,
crazy. Um, I did say yes. You wanna, if you wanna write about perimenopause your way, it's gonna be just talk about it, isn't it?
mm-hmm.
There is no nothing attached to it. Talk about it as you talk about having a fever. That's I'm
Mm.
not feeling well. I've got flu. Then
Yeah,
people say, okay, rest. But so what if you've got perimenopause? It's just like, okay, fine, get on with it. And you're hormonal, and now you're gonna go crazy. But what you're saying is, manage it, girls. Don't let that affect your life.
yeah, yeah. You gotta manage it. You gotta take ownership of it. Yes, there's certain things you can't control, but there is things that you can actually control, and you can
How
make.
does diet then come so much in it? What part of, so if you say yes, I understand weight, weight training and gaining
Mhm.
muscle mass and everything. How does diet come so important in this part?
Yeah, so it's so complex. It's really actually complex, but there's different pathways that you can look at. So if you undereat, it can cause it can cause your cortisol to go up. That's your stress hormone. It's a stress on the body, under eating. If that goes up, it can deplete your progesterone because progesterone and cortisol are made from same thing. So if we're using cortisol or creating more cortisol, we're not going to be creating progesterone, which progesterone depletion will affect your periods, your mood, and things like that. It also will throw you into estrogen dominance, which makes you be more puffy, bloated, gain weight around abdominal area, heavy periods, endometriosis, things like that. So that's one effect. The other effect is that 90% or 95, depending on which research you look at, there's like 90 to 95% of your serotonin, which is your happy hormone, is made in your gut. So if you're not producing it, then you're not going to be happy. So if you're eating shit and you're not eating enough, if you're not eating enough protein, that will affect your serotonin. Okay. Without going into the details with all the words and everything, um, the thing that makes your serotonin, there's a whole process. There's a thing that you get from like turkey and chicken, like most things that have protein in it. You get that, it goes into 5-HTP and it goes into serotonin. So to produce enough serotonin, you have to eat right foods. And those things need to be mixed up with iron and B vitamins, some of the B vitamins. So not only you need to eat enough protein, you need to eat enough nutrients, like nutrient dense foods with antioxidants. So that's kind of the big mix, how nutrition can affect how you feel. Like first you need to eat enough. So yeah, diet is great if you want to lose weight, but you're actually not going to lose weight if you're under eating. You need to eat enough, and you need to eat enough of the right foods, enough protein and enough antioxidants and vegetables and things like that. Because if we want to produce enough serotonin, we need to make sure that we have a healthy gut. For healthy gut, we need to eat enough fiber. So there's lots of different ways to look at it. And in simple language, you need to eat healthy. You need to eat things that don't come from the package, you know, meat
So how
or
do you
other
do
source of
this with a
protein.
busy lifestyle?
Well, cooking meals, like unhealthy meals, requires the same amount of time as just putting roast in the oven.
Fair. Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
you don't have to. I mean, yeah, you can go buy takeaways, but you can make a choice what you're buying. Like you can go buy McDonald's, or you can go and buy a roast from the mall, right? Or if you're making pizza at home, or you're making, I don't know, whatever people are making, um, you can just throw all your vegetables in the oven, and you can throw a chicken, or you can buy a whole roast chicken from supermarket. Like if you don't want to cook
Mm-hmm.
chicken, just put things in the oven. I think it comes down to education. Like people always say, well, I'm too
Mindful.
busy to cook, or I'm too busy to cook healthy, or it's too expensive to eat healthy. Well, how much is your health worth to you? So
True.
let's look at it that way.
It's lifestyle
Um,
choices, isn't it?
yeah, yeah, and it comes down to education. It's sometimes we feel like it's too hard because we don't know how. We don't know
Hmm.
how to make a change, and that's why having a coach can help with that, because they can help you navigate that. Um, but yeah, it's a choice. It's a choice. Like you can go to cafe for breakfast, and you can order omelette instead of getting eggs and toast and things like that with lots of other shit or whatever. Instead of getting mocha, you can just get trim latte. You don't have to have that. Like just
Yeah,
small
yeah, yeah.
adjustments.
Just be mindful of what you're putting in your body, isn't it? They say you
Yeah,
are what you eat. So the new
yeah,
and again, that's a massive, massive opening for us is perimenopause or menopause journey can be managed with nutrition and exercise.
yeah,
Simply.
yeah,
Yeah, hormones,
yeah.
yes, replacements if needed, yes, but women, we can kind of manage it with educating ourselves about nutrition, about exercise, and bringing the right things in our lifestyle. And we need to put ourselves first. We need to manage our health because otherwise you've got a crazy mama.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So great. It's such a great honor to chat with you. And is there anything you want to add?
No, no, that's it. Just
Mhm.
yeah, everything is in your hands, and you got to take ownership of your health and your mindset and your wellness. You don't need to blame others. That's the one thing I teach my clients: take ownership. You made bad decision, take ownership, own it, move on. You don't
That's
have to
it.
give me excuses. I don't want to hear excuses.
Yeah, yeah. Great. Thank you so much for sharing so many insightful tips how to manage perimenopause, how you actually be being on the other side, being vulnerable, opened up your story and owned it. Owned it boldly, authentically, and as you're saying, no excuses. This is it, but I turned it around. So your story is actually a mirror for so many of us. What it means to be feeling lost, silenced, ashamed of natural stages of our life, and then say, that's it, no more. Let's change something. And this is the narrative we want to talk about. We don't need to shrink ourselves. actually. We want to expand. So, what if we are aging? And so, what if this is a natural stage in our lives? Let's manage it. And that's what you are bringing so beautifully, Anastasia, and helping so many women around the world to manage this. So, my little take on this to all the women out there who are perimenopausal, menopausal, or any stage, that moment of uncertainty, own your story, as Anastasia says, and tell it your own way, because 100% there's a way around it. So until next time, keep rewriting your rules, keep reclaiming your power, and keep living your own narrative your way. Thank you.